Hey Snowboard Addiction, Tavis here, and in this video we're going to deep dive one of the most important and one of my favorite aspects of all snowboarding, and that is the straight air. More specifically, we're going to focus how you can start adding grabs into your straight airs, because people think grabs are their only individual tricks, but really there's an extension of the straight air. So we're going to go and talk about how you can go and get your straight airs to the point where you can start using them to get whatever grab you want. And then we'll be going and getting more advanced, and I'm going to show you how I use these grabs and tweak these straight airs in order to get some super funky, fun things going. So first, what do you need for a proper straight air? There's two things that I think are really important, and that is one, having your weight set over the balls of your feet on the takeoff. So that's why I'm doing this little hunched over motion, because I'm trying to get that bend in my legs, but I need to make sure that my weight stays right here. So I actually have a better example of this right here. So even though I'm going and hunching over and it looks like my weight might be set over front here, I'm actually have my weight set, boom, right down over the balls of my feet. And that's because my butt and upper body are counterbalancing themselves. So it doesn't really matter how you get there. This is very exaggerated because I'm trying to get more pop out of a jump. But basically, you're trying to keep your weight set right over the balls of your feet. You can tell if you're doing this by your line off the takeoff. So right here, I go and set my weight down, and you can see I'm making a nice, clean, straight line. Not turning left, not coming right, but I'm holding that little snow fluff up the whole way. If you're doing that, that means your weight's set over your balls of your feet. You can do that with a bunch of different ways. You can see I have that motion like right here, weight over balls of feet, weight right here. So it doesn't matter how much you're squatting down, how little you're squatting down, as long as your weight's centered over that point. The next part that's really important for getting any grab on a snowboard is going to be making sure you're patient off the takeoff. By this, I mean your tail is the last thing leaving the lip. When your tail is the last thing that leaves the lip, it does a couple really important things. First of all, it just gives you more height off the jump. If you're going and popping off and going airborne a board length down, you have a board length less of air time. As simple as that. Second, it goes and puts you on the right arc of the jump. By going and leaving off your tail, it's going to go and shoot you up, give you that little bit of flat motion, and then put you down. Because even if you're not grabbing in a jump, if you're able to do your straight air with no wavy wavies of the arms, no rebalancing of the air, that means you could have hit a grab there. And if you have that consistently and the grab's still messing you up, then there's something you're changing with your form to mess yourself up once you're reaching for that grab. Because every time you go and do a grab, even if it's something weird. So, for example, I'll show you this method here. So for this method, I'm going and doing a few weird things. I'm leaning forward, I'm grabbing really early, and then I'm tweaking it out. So that is a lot different from what I'd normally go and teach for a straight air, but I'm still doing the underlining principles of making sure my weight's set over the balls of my feet and I'm leaving off the tail with that full extension. What is the last little part of this is your extension. If you go and leave off your tail, you're still going to be in a really good position. But if you're going and doing that well, like going downwards, that's going to like absorb it, even if you are leaving off your tail. But if you just held straight, we call that a coast, and that gives you a decent amount of air time. But wherever real power comes in and wherever real style for the grabs comes in is with pop. And pop is when you go and bend down and extend your legs, leaving off that back foot. So what we're trying to do here is the timing. And the timing is having your body fully extended as your tail leaves off the end. That's just going to maximize your height and give you the most control. So those are the three principles: weight over the balls of your feet, making sure to leave the jump off your tail, and making sure your full extension is as your tail snaps off, because that's going to go and naturally bring your legs up to you. And from this position, you can hit any grab. So now let's talk about actually getting this grab going. So the biggest mistake people make is just trying to grab too soon. So we'll start breaking up the waist like here on the takeoff, or we'll start trying to grab when we're still going up. It's really important to do that full extension, because that full extension will actually kick you off the jump and have your legs get pulled up naturally to you. And that's why you see people really good at snowboarding generally grab once the jump is finished setting them up. So you can see here, I fully grab, and then as my body naturally flattens out to that flat arc of a jump, that's when I hit the grab. And then from here, you have the option to just hold it and coast, fall all the way down with that smooth motion because you got that good arc, or you could add a poke. Adding pokes and tweaks is another thing that really throws people off because they rush to do it. But really, jumping, you need to think of it as a segmented section. First is the takeoff. You need that full extension every time. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You need that full extension off your tail to get that arc of a jump. Then you do the grab. The grab happens when you're pretty much finished going up in the air and your legs naturally come up to you. For a nose grab, I can actually do this a little bit sooner because I'm able to tilt my hips forward and bring my grab to me faster than having both my legs come up naturally. And that's why you're seeing me hit the grab a little bit earlier than on the indie. And then the next part is the poke. Poking happens generally once you start falling down with the arc of the jump or at your very pinnacle of the peak so where you're feeling weightless in the air. So when you want to do a proper grab, you pop up, full extension, grab your snowboard once you're almost finished going up, and then from there, you tweak it. And then you can hold the grab for as long as possible. Here, for this nose grab, I'm actually challenging myself and holding it until my tail hits the ground, and it makes it snap down. But it still has my weight set all the way over. And that's the control you're trying to get, and that's why we need to focus on this really good straight air. So, if you have this really good straight air, I'm going to show you how you can tweak it and start getting creative with it to go and push the envelope. Because snowboarding, there's, a textbook way to do it, but then style comes from pushing that textbook style, but still keeping in the bounds of working. So you're able to go and get loose with it, outside of the box, unorthodox, as long as you still hit these main principles and it comes back into play. I like to think of it a lot like jazz music. You can be ripping your jazz solo and you can go and get as weird with it as possible. But if you go and hit a wrong note, if something doesn't feel right, doesn't match the rules of jazz, then it sort of doesn't work. So we're trying to push the envelope as much as possible with still following the baseline rules of the good pop, the good flow, and the good landing. So we're going to go and break down this tuck knee here. A tuck knee is a very hyper-exaggerated trick. And it's honestly a trick that you need to just fully commit to. But you only want to fully commit after that full leave off, the takeoff. So you can see I'm popping off a little bit early here. If we're nitpicking, you can see that I'm slightly not making contact. I could maximize that a little bit more. But this is mostly because I'm doing a hip and I'm trying to go and gauge it. When you're on a hip, you don't have you have a more variables with speed because you're trying to not overshoot the hip. So I'm going to go and use that as my safety card. But here I am leaving a little bit earlier. So in the perfect world, I'd go a little bit slower and pop a little bit better. This heel side takeoff is because it's a heel side hip, so I need my momentum to be shifted over. So don't worry about that. Normally, the stacked over your toes is the way you want to go, unless you're on a heel side hip. But we go, get that full extension, pop up, and then you can see here, my momentum is almost done going up as I start reaching for the grab. And then once I hit the grab, then I go and pull in the tweak. And once you pull in the tweak, you can pull it as much as you want. But it's really important to go and wait until you get that solid grab and then the tweak. If you try to do this on one motion, you're going to hurt your back. So the most important thing here is this initial weight. So you pop up, wait until you're feeling weightless, hit the grab, and then once you have the grab, that's when you tweak it back. So even though this is smooth and connected, it still, to me, is three separate motions. I'm telling myself, all right, get a nice pop off the takeoff, feel in control, hit the grab, then tweak the snowboard. It's by doing this three-step process that I'm able to go and grab my snowboard in a controlled, predictable manner. This one I find really interesting, and that is methods off a hip. I've been really trying to go and push my methods because they're one of the coolest and most OG tricks in snowboarding, but I was having a really hard time figuring out how to get that vertical method style where ideally when you're doing a method, your legs are over your head. But to me, that didn't really make sense because how do you put your legs over your head and not fall on your face? So what I've been playing with the hip is shifting my weight super far back. So you can see here, I'm going and matching the angle of the jump with my whole entire body. I am very angled completely on the degree of a jump, where normally when I'm jumping, I'm popping off, but I'm having my weight shift forward. let me just go and show you a little example of that. So normally when we're hitting a jump, we don't want to go and like be too lean back. So you can see here, I'm leaving off my tail, but my upper body is still sort of set forward. That's going to help me get back down. But the method, you can't get your feet over your head if you do it like that. So I was just committing completely to the angle. I was even sort of thinking to myself, like, you want to come in sort of thinking like you're going to backhand drag the jump. The reason why you can do this and not land on your side is because of the counter rotation and the tweak in the air. And this is where jumping and grabbing gets really complicated. And that's because you can go and add tweaks that will go and redirect your momentum and rebalance you. So this method, even though I'm taking off super tail heavy, and normally it would make me land on my side, you can see I'm not arced with the jump at all. I'm going up and I'm just angled up in the air. But then because I tweak it and push my foot forward, it actually recenters me and pushes me down into the landing. So that's just something really cool that I've been playing with. And if you're feeling comfortable and want to push yourself, I try it out on your methods. It makes them feel a lot cooler. But you can see the same principles still apply. Full extension, straight-legged, waiting for the grab. Here, I should grab when I'm still going up, but that's because the grab part isn't the part of the trick here. The part of the trick is the tweak. So I grab my snowboard, but I wait until I'm at my maximum peak until I tweak my snowboard. So that's just a different way to like think about it. If you're adding a tweak, you can grab a little bit sooner because the tweak's going to do some stuff to rebalance you. Here, it goes and puts my board forward, back down, and lets me go and shift my upper body into that landing. We're going to go and look at this for the nose grab one more time. I go and shift my weight forward a little bit preemptively, and I let my chest open slightly. That's because I want my board to come up with this little front side shifty. When you're normally doing a shifty, you don't really want to have your body like too rotated off the takeoff, because that's going to make it so you're limited and need to do a really aggressive motion back. But if you're just doing a slight motion and then you're going to tweak it more, that's going to give you a nice little bit of counter rotation. And that's something I want to emphasize here is when I'm doing this nose grab, notice how my back arm sort of pulls with my right arm. That's because I'm going to want to use it to like bring me back if I mess up. That's not very noticeable on that one, but it is really noticeable on here. This is my signature grab. I don't have a name for it, but it's one of my favorite ones to do. And there's a few really interesting things going on with it. First of all, the same principles apply of like toe weight, but I'm actually doing this way differently. Because I'm trying to get my feet out in front of me, my center of balance needs to be slightly different. So how I'm doing that is I'm going and arcing my body super far forward. Again, I wouldn't recommend this. And there's another thing I don't recommend. Look at my knee. It's pointing in towards my front foot. So on a normal straight air, awful form, you would look very sketchy if you're hitting a jump like this. But for this grab, you need that because you're trying to get yourself thrown off balance. So, okay, you're here and you can't use your back arm to balance you because for both hitting the grab, double stiffy with your ass coming down. So if you just held the grab like this, you would biff it super duper hard. And that's where the thing of this trick becomes really interesting and cool. I go and then let go of the grab. And when I let go of the grab, I go and tweak and use counter rotation to push it forward with my back arm. And this winds up my body, giving me the ability to tweak it and then pull it back. So this is a really cool trick because it doesn't rely on that smooth arc off the jump. Instead, it relies on a super aggressive counter rotation motion in order to realign yourself with the landing. Because if you go and do like pop back, trying to get into that back position, it won't work. If you try to go and get a proper 2-foot jump, isn't going to work. So what I do is I keep my upper body tall. You can see that I'm not doing my extended motion as much. Instead, I'm keeping my upper body shifted forward, so when I take off, I get sort of bucked from the jump, putting my legs forward in front of me. Forward in front, and that lets me go and hit the grab, the double stiffy with the legs out. And then from this position, I go and let go of the grab rotate the arm, and that puts you in that counter-rotated position, what lets you use your back arm to snap yourself back centered. So that is a really cool way that I go and push these jump principles and don't necessarily use them. There is a few downsides. I'm not getting nearly as much height off a jump. It's a lot more sketchy, and it's just not going to give you as much control as a proper jump. So what you want to be doing, now we'll go back to the textbook, is you want to be coming into the jump, weight on the balls of your feet, nice and stacked, bend down. It doesn't really matter how much you bend down. Depends on how much pop you're trying to get. Good timing, making it so you extend fully, leaving off your tail, waiting until you're fully in the air, then hit the grab. From here, tweak it, do whatever. You're floating. You're in the freaking end zone, putting it down. And yeah, those are some of the things I think about when grabbing. This is a much more loose kind of content format, but I think it's good to go look at these videos, deep dive in a little bit, and see what's actually going on in the thought process behind them. If you like videos like this, let me know and we'll keep making them more. I really want to make videos talking about 180s all the way up to 1080s and just going and giving some more information on each one of these tricks. If you're trying to work on your jumps and improve yourself as a jumper, watch our Learn to Jump series. It goes and covers all these stuff in a more streamlined, put together kind of way with diagrams. So it's a better example. But I hope you learned something new from this video. And if not, just can appreciate a different perspective. So thanks so much for watching. I'm Tavis from Snowboard Addiction, and our goal is to improve your riding.